Hello, you over 3,000 amazing legends and the 82.5% who's yet to subscribe. Today we're going to be doing another deep dive looking at the Disciples of Tzeentch, the big flamey chicken boys. So yes, looking at Disciples of Tzeentch today. The chicken boys of Age of Sigmar, pretty cool faction. I've always had a soft spot for Tzeentch. Probably because some of the earlier artwork from Warhammer Fantasy Battles showing a load of Tzeentch Chaos Warriors looked so cool, and I'm really hoping one day Games Workshop actually gives Tzeentch some proper armoured Chaos Warrior mortal love, because they're the only one of the four gods that do not have any really decent mortal element yet, but there's always hope. But anyway, their battle traits. So they have quite a few battle traits. They're obviously their deployment phase, Masters of Destiny. So this is your Destiny dice. It's kind of, if you're from 40k, you've probably come across Eldar and their Fate dice. It's kind of the same thing. So you roll 9 dice and place them to the one side. These are your Destiny dice. Destiny dice can be spent during the battle to change certain dice rolls. You can never have more than 9 Destiny dice at once. Destiny dice, during the battle, instead of making a roll from the list below for a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit, you can apply your Destiny dice. Pretty cool. The roll you would have made is replaced with the roll of the Destiny dice you spend. If you want to replace a 2d6 roll, 3d6 roll, etc., you must spend a number of Destiny dice equal to the number of d6. So if you want to change an entire charge roll of 2 dice, you use 2 Destiny dice. So if you roll 2 6s and you need that 12-inch charge, you've got it in the bag. Any rolls that would have been replaced count as unmodified, and they cannot be re-rolled, they cannot be changed, and they cannot be modified by other friendly abilities, but they can be modified by enemy abilities. Ooh. You cannot spend Destiny dice to replace a reroll. Very cool. So obviously it gives you a long list of things that you can do. You can change casting rolls, unbinding rolls, banishment rolls, run rolls, charge rolls to use in your turn. So obviously not counter charges, hit rolls, wound rolls, and save rolls. All pretty cool. So once per turn, army, any shooting phase, Conflagration of Tzeentch. Basically, they have similar to the Z's mechanic, they have a burning mechanic. So pick an enemy unit that has any damage points allocated to it this turn by a weird word flame spell abilities, or shooting attacks made with weapons that have the word flame ability. Target has now the burning keyword. And obviously we have the burning effect down here. So once per turn, army, end of any turn, roll a d3 for each burning enemy unit. On a 2 to 3, inflict a number of mortal damage on that unit equal to the roll, and on a 1, that unit no longer has the burning keyword. Cool. And then to quench it, if you use a healing ability, you can get rid of the burning ability. All very good. I like it. Destiny dice are pretty strong, and the new sort of burning effect is pretty cool as well. Next up, we have the most important part, the battle formations. Obviously, there's 4. So the first one is the Sinister counter hexes. Add 1 to unbinding rolls for friendly Arcanite units. In addition, if a friendly Arcanite unit unbinds a spell, no command points are spent for that unit to have used Magical Intervention command in that phase. That's pretty sweet. Obviously, change host is a big thing apart in the game. It used to be. So this is now a once per battle army, end of your turn. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch demon unit that is in combat to be the target. Roll a dice. On a 3+, remove the target from the battlefield. Set it up again on the battlefield. Each model in the target unit must be set up in combat with any of the other enemy units that the target has in combat with before it was removed from the battlefield. Cool, so it's a teleport once per battle. Meh. Zangor Coven. Each time a Warlock unit uses a rally command, you can make 3 additional rally rolls of d6. So you get 9 dice rather than 6. It's pretty cool. And then the Weird Flame Host. Subtract 1 from the wound rolls for attacks made by burning enemy units. That's really cool. I probably would go for that one. It's a passive ability, and you're -1 to wound if they're burning, which is really good. It's an extra debuff on the enemy. All good. I do think there's three pretty weak ones, but I do like the burning one. Next up, we have the hero traits and the artifacts of power for your non-unique heroes. So the hero traits first. Illustrious. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target friendly units while they are wholly within this unit's combat range. It's okay. Passive. If this unit's dice is a casting roll for this unit, has the same value, and the spell is not a miscast, add 3 to the casting roll. Let's read that again. If each dice in a casting roll for this unit, okay, has the same value, and the spell is not a miscast, so you roll a double. Why can they not just say roll a double? Add 3 to the casting value. So basically, if you don't roll a double 1, right, you add 3 to the casting roll. Double 1 is bad, so if each dice for the spell that you're casting isn't a double 1, because that's a miscast, it's a double, you roll 3. That is really badly worded, basically. It's if you roll a double, you get 3 to the cast. Come on, Games Workshop, English. Hero phase. Roll a dice. You must replace one of your destiny dice with the roll. Okay, that's pretty good, especially if you want to fish for some better destiny dice. That's quite nice. You can do that in the hero phase. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Artifact of power. Passive 9-eyed tomb. Add 1 to the casting rolls and banishment rolls for this unit. Oh, so good. And then we've got a passive, Wormflame Blade. If any damage points are allocated to an enemy unit by this unit's combat attacks, that enemy has the burning keyword. Cool. Burning close combat. Not that you have many close combat units, to be fair, so that's probably not going to be used as much, because, you know, this army doesn't have the mortal element that the others do. Really does need it. And then we have the once per battle, any combat phase, pick an enemy wizard in combat with this unit to be the target, inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. In addition, subtract 1 from the casting rolls for the target for the rest of the battle. -1 casting is pretty strong. I like the +1 casting, and I like the Destiny dice change as well. That would be kind of cool. Okay, first of the spell laws. We have Law of Fate. So, Glimpse of the Future. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard to cast this spell. Then pick a casting roll of 2d6. Set aside any Destiny dice that have a value of 6, and then roll all of your Destiny dice again. If you have no Destiny dice, roll a dice and add it to your Destiny pool. So you can kind of start replanning your Destiny dice or fishing for better dice, which is quite good. For casting on a 7, potentially on a 6, it's not bad. Infernal Gateway. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard to cast a spell. Pick a friendly visible enemy unit within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Roll either 4 dice or a number of dice equal to the number of Destiny dice you have left, whichever is greater, and for each 4+, inflict a mortal wound. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That would be kind of nice paired in with Umbral spell portals, so you can get the extra distance. And especially early on in the game when you're sitting there with 9 dice for your Destiny dice. So that could be quite good. But yeah, okay, not bad. And it's pretty easy to cast as well. Shield of Fate. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard to cast the spell. Pick a visible friendly unit wholly within 18 of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll, needing a 7. The target has ward 5+ until the start of your next turn. In addition, if you have 4 or more Destiny dice left, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target that unit till the start of your next turn. That's cool. I quite like that. Then we have the second law's spell law, because it's Tzeentch, so they've obviously got to have more than one. There's the hero of, in your hero phase, Bolts of Tzeentch. I've got a feeling that this is probably where you're going to be playing a lot of. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard to cast a spell. Roll, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches. Do a casting roll, needing a 6. Inflict D3 mortal damage on that target. Nice. I really wish that had a caveat that if you had over 9 on the casting roll, that it did D6 mortal damage rather than D6. That would be really thematic. Fold the reality, pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard, pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit wholly within 12, and then remove the target from the battlefield, set up again more than 9 inches. Yep, this is the law that you're going to take. You've got a nice mortal movement output with it, and you got a teleport, which is really good. And then transform to a spawn, because that's just so cool. Pick a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizard to cast the spell. Pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of them to be the target. Then make a casting roll of 2d6. Inflict a d3 mortal damage on the target. If any models are slain by this ability, pick a friendly Chaos Spawns of Tzeentch unit that is in reserve as a potential fate or that has been destroyed. If you pick the unit as a reserve of fate, it's set up on the battlefield and in combat range. If you pick the unit that has been destroyed, set it up identical and replace it on the battlefield combat with the target. So obviously you're going to have to put a couple of spawns in your army list to use this, but you know, if you're going to be going for the Lord of Change, you're going to bring a couple of spawn because that would be funny. So Tzeentch has their own manifestations. And they've got 3, obviously. So they've got the first one is the Tomb of Eyes. It's cast on a 5. You set up the tomb wholly within 12 inches of the caster, invisible to them. Pretty cool. The next one is the Burning Sigil of Tzeentch. You set up, it's cast on a 5, and you set up the Burning Sigil of Tzeentch wholly within 12 inches of the caster, invisible to them. And then you have the Demonic Simulacrum, and you set that up wholly within 12 inches of the caster and more than 9 inches from all enemy units, and that's cast on a 7. We'll now have a look at their war scrolls. So the Burning Sigil of Tzeentch is it is a endless spell, 6 up ward, 5 save, health of 6, banishment of 7. So declare this manifestation uses this ability in each movement phase. Pick each unit, friendly or enemy, within 9 inches of this manifestation to be the target. Roll 2 dice. Pick either result. Then apply the corresponding effect to all the targets for the rest of the turn. So 1 and 2, no effect. 3, subtract 2 from the target's movement characteristics. 4, subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's from the target attacks. 5, subtract 1 from the wound rolls for a target's attacks. And then 6, inflict d3 mortal damage on the target, then add 1 to the attacks characteristics of the target's attacks. This affects you and it affects your opponent. Next up, we have the Demonic Simulacrum. So this is the one that moves around and flies as a 6 up ward, 6 save, movement 9, health 8, banishment of 7. Snapping Jaws, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rain, d3 damage, anti-wizard +1. And then while this manifestation targets a wizard, add a number of equal to the wizard's power level to the damage characteristics of this unit's Snapping Jaws. So the bigger the wizard, the more damage it'll do. Pretty cool. And it's basically some Keeper of Secrets, Lord of Change's heads flying around that are on fire. Nice. Next up we have the Tomb of Eyes. 6 up ward, 4 up save, doesn't move, health of 5, banishment of 7. You can add 1 to 2 or 2 to the casting roll for the spell. For that spell, roll a number of dice equal to the amount added, and for each 1 to 2 allocated, allocate 1 damage to the caster. If the caster is destroyed by this ability, the spell has no effect. So you declare a spell ability for a wizard within this range of this manifestation. So basically, you can add 1 to 2 to the casting rolls, and then roll a number of dice equal to the amount added, and for each 1 and 2 allocated a point of damage to yourself. So, like Tzeentch, he kind of gives, but he also hurts you in return. Okay, the big daddy Kairos Fate Weaver, and he is a pretty cool looking one. I'm just going to get up the pointage for the Disciples of Tzeentch, and let's have a little look how much points he is, because he is pretty decent. So Kairos is going to be coming in at 440 points, all right? So he is obviously a War Master, he is unique, he is a hero, he is a monster, he's a Wizard 3, he flies, and he has a 5 up ward save. A 5 up save, he moves 12, 16 health, and a control of 5, and he has a Staff of Tomorrow and a curved beaks. So, close combat, He's got 4 attacks. He hits on 3s. He wounds on 2s. -1 rend, D3 damage. Decent. And then his curved beaks, 5 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. Not bad. No abilities on these, but obviously he's a wizard. He's not a fighter. So damage, his curved beaks obviously can drop from 5 down to 3 attacks. His passive ability, when you make a casting roll for this unit, you can change the lowest D6 to match the highest D6. That's nice. And then he has once per battle, you declare the tactical gambit ability. Pick one of the following effects. You can pick a battle tactic that you have already attempted. You can pick 2 battle tactics that you have not yet attempted, but you can only complete one of them, even if you meet the conditions of both. The other does not count as having been attempted. If you do not complete either battle tactics, you can pick which does not count as having been attempted. This is kind of nice. It's a once per battle thing, so obviously if you've got multiple options or multiple battle tactics that you could potentially do, but you know that your opponent can kind of stop, you can pull this out your arse, and then you've got both bases covered and you can attempt them. All right, and that's really strong, especially when battle tactics are worth 4 points, and we know how powerful they are and important they are. You know, primary is good, but battle tactic is what's going to get you up to that 10 points. So, yeah, that's really, really quite nice. Passive, Beacon of Sorcery. Add 1 to casting rolls and unbanning rolls for friendly Disciples of Tzeentch wizards while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. That is pretty sweet. And then your hero phase. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target, and then make a casting roll of 2d6.
Yeah.
I believe someone just subscribed to my YouTube channel as I was recording. Cool. Pick one of the following effects to apply to the target until the start of your next turn. So, it's hopeless. The target cannot use commands. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls and wound rolls for the target's attacks, and subtract 1 from save rolls for the target. That's pretty decent. So yeah, Kairos is a bit of a beast in all in all. Next up we have a Lord of Change, which comes in at 360 points. So obviously Lord of Change is a 2-cast wizard. It's a monster, it's a hero, it flies, 5 up ward save, 5 up save, movement of 12, health of 14, control of 5. The Rod of Sorcery, 18-inch ranged attack, 2d6 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage, Word Flame. Very important ability, because that's what's going to pop out your burning ability. Then obviously, Staff of Tzeentch, 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend, d3 damage, anti-wizard plus 1 rend. Baleful Sword, 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage. That's pretty spicy. And then his beaks. 4 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, and the beaks drop down to 3 attacks if you have 10 more damage. Now, you do have to choose between the Rod of Sorcery or the Baleful Sword. So you've got to choose it if you're going to either have the Close Combat Extra Attack, which is pretty spicy, or a ranged ability. I would probably rely on that depending on where you're going to get your Word Flame from. I've got a feeling that pinks and blue horrors are probably going to be pumping that out, so you might not necessarily need the Rod of Sorcery. It's spiky being 2d6, so, you know, it is up to you, but the idea of having that rend 2 damage 3 sword on a big giant chicken is just so tempting. It has a once per turn army movement in your movement phase. Summon Demons of Tzeentch. So discard 1 destiny dice, then pick a friendly non-hero, non-unique Disciples of Tzeentch unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Set up the replacement unit at half strength on the table, wholly within 9 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from enemy units. Pretty cool. Then you're a Locust. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for combat attacks that target friendly Disciples of Tzeentch demon units while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. Nice, nice. -1 hit's always quite good. And then in your hero phase, you can cast a spell, pick an enemy wizard, pick an enemy unit within 18 inches to be the target, roll a casting roll needing a 7+, roll 9 dice. For each 6, inflict a d3 mortal damage on the target. That is nuts. And it's Word Flame as well, so you're going to be putting your burning effect onto the unit. He's not bad. You're going to have at least either Kairos or one of these in your army, regardless. Next, we've got a Fate Skimmer, Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot. And a Fate Skimmer is coming in at 170 points. It is hero, it's a war machine, it's a wizard 1, and it flies, and it's a 6 award save. It has a 5-up save, it moves 12, 8 health, and control of 2. It has Indecible Flames, 12-inch range, 3 attacks, falls and falls, -1 rend at D3 damage, Wired Flame, and in melee weapons, Staff of Change and Ritual Daggers, 3 attacks, falls and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, and then Screamers, Laminate Bites, 6 attacks, falls and 3s, -1 rend at 1 damage, Anti-Monster, +1 rend companion. Now, in your movement phase, you can pick an enemy unit that this unit passed across this phase to be the target. Roll a dice, and on a 3+, the target has the burning effect. Nice, so you just have to fly over them, which is really, really cool. And then a 3+, they get it. And then end of any turn, pick up to 3 burning enemy units within 12 inches of this unit to be target, inflict 1 mortal damage on that target. And that's obviously in addition to what the burning effect is going to be doing already, which is pretty cool. Okay, Moonhead, Change Caster, Herald of Tzeentch. So the Change Casters are 140 points. So a 1-cast wizard with a ward of 6, save of 6, 5 movement, health of 5, control of 2. Every time I see Tzeentch models and I see the really nice blues and the pinks, I get all excited and think, I really need to paint some of these guys. I might have to dig into the box, people. Might have to dig into the box. So you've got a ranged attack of Iridescent Flames, 12 range, 3 attacks, falls and falls, -1 rend, D3 damage, and you put your Word Flame on it. Then you've got your melee weapons, 3 attacks, falls and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. But then you've got a couple of abilities. Passive, Lurid Flames. Add 1 to the hit rolls for other combat attacks made by friendly units that target a burning enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit. So you got to get your burning out. So once you start getting your burning out, you get +1 hit for combat attacks made by friendly units that are 12 that target and burning units that are within 12 inches of this unit. Now, it's really good that it says within, not wholly within. So it's kind of nice. So you can kind of just sort of tag in and spread out a little bit more, and you kind of get a little bit more out of him that way, which is kind of cool. Then passive, Demonic Locus. Each time a friendly Disciples of Tzeentch unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit uses a rally command, you can make a 3 additional rolls. That's going to be pretty good, especially you getting your pinks and your blues back. But yeah, I reckon for the amount of points, you're probably going to maybe have one of these guys in your army. Plus, it's a Moonhead. Why would you not want a Moonhead? Ah, the good old Changeling. He's a unique hero, Wizard 1. No, he's a Wizard 1 or a Wizard 2. I really wish they'd make those keywords at the bottom a lot more bigger. And he's got a ward of 6. So the Changeling is... Where is he? The Changeling is 160 points. He's got 5 save, movement of 5, health of 6, control of 2. He's got the Trickster Staff, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage. Not bad. And then he has a couple of abilities. So in the deployment phase, remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield at more than 3 inches from all enemy units. Cool. You just start the game 3 inches from enemy units. But there's probably going to be tricks involved. Your hero phase, discard and confuse. Make a casting roll of 2d6. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for attacks that target this unit until the start of your next turn. In addition, until the start of your next turn, roll a dice each time this unit is targeted by an ability that is not an attack ability. On a 4+, another eligible unit must be targeted by that ability instead of this unit. If it's not possible to target another unit, that ability has no effect. Cool. And then pick an enemy unit within 9 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll a d3, roll a dice on a 3+, and half of the target's movement characteristics for the rest of the turn. There's obviously shenanigans afoot here, so remove this unit in your deployment phase from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 3 inches from all enemy units. Alright, so you can pretty much like drop down onto an objective. Like obviously you can't set up within combat range, and you're not going to want to because you'll probably get absolutely wrecked. But you can sort of kind of like drop in and like just be a knob, basically. If there's an objective that's not really controlled, and he has a control of 2, so in some of the missions you may not necessarily be able to get to all of the objectives. So you're able to just like drop him down on top of it, which is kind of handy. And he's a wizard. He has a teleport spell, so he's probably going to be able to do shenanigans. The changeling's just generally annoying, which is kind of cool because that's what he's meant to be, just an annoying little douchebag. Next up, we have the Gaunt Summoner on a Disc of Tzeentch. Now, obviously, Gaunt Summoners are pretty Tzeentchy, and they're obviously in the Slaves to Darkness army, and you get them here as well. And this one's on a disc at 250 points. They're exactly the same. They're exactly the same as the Slaves to Darkness, so I'm not going to go massively into them, but they're pretty good. They've got a lot of shenanigans with their movement, and if you want to check out a full thing, you can go and check out the Slaves to Darkness video for those guys. And a Gaunt Summoner on foot comes in at 170 points. Again, it's exactly the same as the one on the disc, exactly the same as the one that's on the Slaves to Darkness army. So if you want to check that out, feel free to go and check them out over in the Slaves to Darkness video. Okay, so next up we have the Magister on the Disc of Tzeentch. Now, he is a hero, he's a wizard, he's cavalry, he flies, and he's pretty cool. He's 160 points. I have this model in my bits box, along with some Zangors. In fact, I have that entire part of that launch box in my bits box. So I'm very tempted to paint this guy up one day. So he has a 4-up save. He doesn't have a ward save, but he's a wizard 1. He moves 14 inches. He's got a health of 6, control of 2. He's got a Tzeentchian Rune Staff, which is an 18-inch range, 1 attack, 3s, 4s, no rend D3 damage, Worm Flyer. Then he has his Warp Steel Sword, 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend D3 damage, and then a Tzeentch Disc of Teeth. Disc has teeth and horns, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend D3 damage companion. So in your hero phase, Magical Touch, if this unit successfully casts the spell this phase, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the unit's power level. So he becomes Wizard 2. That's pretty good. And then if 2 or more dice in a casting roll for this unit have the same value, again, if you roll a double, the spell fails, its effect is not resolved, and d6 mortal damage is inflicted on this unit. Huh? So, if 2 or more dice in a casting roll for this unit have the same value, the spell fails. Right. Its effect is not resolved. Right. And d6 mortal damage is inflicted on this unit. Why would you want to have that roll? So, that is horrible. That is a horrible, horrible rule. That is terrible. So basically, you're a wizard that if you roll a double, you're going to inflict d6 mortal damage onto yourself. That is... yeah. So, if this unit successfully casts a spell this phase, for the rest of the turn, add 1 to the casting unit's power level, and if 2 or more dice in a casting roll for this unit have the same value, so if you roll a double, the spell fails and the effect is not resolved and you inflict d6 damage on yourself. Like, what? Obviously, you can use your fate dice to stop that from happening, but or your destiny dice, but why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? Yeah, that's really horrible. Horrible rule. So, passive, while they are within this unit's combat range, friendly Disc of Tzeentch units can use charge abilities even if they run. That's kind of nice. Yeah, that magical touch is terrible. It's a really cool model, but that is a really horrible rule. Like it's any double. So if it's any double that you roll, and there's a good chance that you could do that on a 2d6, you're going to inflict d6 mortal damage back to yourself. Yeah, I don't like that. That just makes me not want to cast the spell with this guy at all. Yeah. So next up, we got a Magister on foot. He's a little hero on foot. He's 120 points, armor save of 4, respectable. Movement of 6, health of 5, control of 2. Tzeentchian staff, 18-inch range, 1 attack, 3s and 4s, minus no rend, D3 damage, word flame, warp steel sword, 3s, 4s, no rend, D3 damage. He has a horrible magical touched ability, and then he has web of intrigue. Pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit to be the target until the start of your next turn. Each time your opponent declares a move ability on the target, pick before reactions are used. You can pick a friendly Arcanite unit that is not in combat and is within 12 inches of the target. That friendly unit can move 3 inches, but it cannot move into combat during any part of that move. It's pretty good. Yeah, you're probably not going to really take these guys, to be completely honest. You're probably just going to be bringing heralds. They're a little bit better. Most of your armies are either going to be Zangors, so you're going to have Zangor heroes, or demons. You're not really going to be touching Magisters, really. And if you are bringing any mortal, it's going to be the Curseling. So next up, we have the Ogrid Thermic Blue. It basically is an Ogrid that follows Tzeentch. Did I just knock myself out of the points there? So he is a hero, and he is going to be coming in at 160 points. He's got 5 up save, he moves 6, health of 8, control of 2. He's got his staff, which is a 12-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s, 4s, no rend, D3 damage. And then melee weapons, great horns and hooves, 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, minus 1 rend, 2 damage, plus 1 on the charge. And then he's got his staff, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend, D3 damage. Passive, add 1 to the hit rolls and the wound rolls for this unit's combat attacks while it is damaged. Okay. You don't really have much health, so you don't really want to take too much damage. And then he has Burning Fury, so pick an enemy unit that is any damage points allocated by this unit's attacks, and then give them the burning keyword. So you basically you can dish out burning with it, but you're pretty expensive and you don't really have a unit to go with him, so he's alright. Okay, Zangor Shamans. This is where you're probably going to start seeing these guys. A Zangor Shaman is 160 points. He's a hero, he's a wizard, he flies. He's on a disc. So he's got 5 up save, he's got a health of 14, a control of 6, health of 6, control of 2. Control of 6 would be amazing. He's got his ritual daggers, so 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. He's got his disc, does 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. And then he has, in your hero phase, Rite of Haste. Pick a friendly warp flock unit that does not have fly unit and within 12 inches of the target. And on 3+, that unit can run and use shoot and or charge abilities. Run and charge on a 3+. Now, it's not as good as a butcher in the Ogre Morg Tribe's army, but it's essentially going to be giving your the Zangors run and charge, which is pretty good. And then at the end of your any turn, pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Then pick a friendly to Zangor unit in the combat with the enemy unit to be a friendly target. Roll a d3, and on a 2+, inflict the mortal wounds damage equal to the roll, and then return number of slain models to the friendly target equal to the roll. That is so good. So as you can see, Zangors are pretty good. Next up, we got the Pink Horrors, the pinky horrors of the horrorness of pinks. The Pink Horrors have gone through a lot of changes over the years. Pinks, blues, brimstones, they were pretty much annoying and busted. But now we've got them. So Pink Horrors are 140 points for 10. All right, they've got a 6 up ward save, a 6 up save. They move 6, the health of 2, and a control of 1. And then they've got a 12-inch range attack, two attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. But you're basically fishing for those ward flame abilities. So any damage is burning people. And then talent hands, so 1 attack, 4s and 4s, minus 1 rend, 1 damage. They're not amazing, but they have this ability. So each time a model in this unit is slain, remove that model from play and pick one of the following. Pick a friendly blue horror or brimstone unit within 12 inches of this unit and return 2 slain blue horror models in that unit. Or you can be Petty Vengeance. Pick an enemy unit that was in combat with this to be the target, and on a 4+, inflict mortal damage. So, really sort of depends. You can sort of replay your blue horrors with them when they die, and because you kind of have a mix of the two. Or if you're in close combat, you just on a 4+ inflict mortal damage back to the enemy models. So, but they are kind of going to be the mainstay of your army. Next up, we got the blue horrors and the brimstone horrors. So the blue horrors and the brimstone horrors are going to be coming in at 120 points for 10 models. Now, this unit starts the battle with 10 blue models, 10 blue horror models, and if it is reinforced, it's 20 blue horror models. Each is armed with spiteful talons and arcane flames. Brimstone horror models can be added to this unit using the split again ability. Each is armed with the talons. So obviously this unit is the one that gets bigger. The pink horrors are the ones that replenish these guys. All right. So they have a 6-up save. They move 6, 1 health, 1 control. They again have an arcane flame ranged attacks, which is just the same as the pinks. And then they have spiteful talons, which is what the blues have got. And then the brimstones have got impish talons. So the blues have got 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend 1 damage, and the brimstones have got 2 attacks, 4 hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s, no rend 1 damage. So they've got split again. So each time a blue horror model in this unit is slain, before removing the model from play, roll a dice. On a 3+, you can add 1 brimstone horror model to this unit. You cannot have more than 10 blue horror models and 10 brimstone horror models in a non-reinforced unit. You cannot have more than 20. So basically, you can't have the same. They have to be sort of either entirely brimstone or entirely blue, and then a mixture of the two, coming up to 10, unless you reinforce to 20. And then obviously, you can, if any pinks die, you add blues in, and then those blues can die. You're always going to have more blues essentially than brimstone if you do it right. But yeah, kind of cool, fun, kind of weird mechanic, but you know, it's better than what it used to be. Let's just put it that way. Before it was just horrible. So next up we got the Burning Chariot of Tzeentch, and the Burning Chariot of Tzeentch are war machines, and they are 140 points for 1. They are a ward save of 6 and a war machine, 5-up save, movement of 12, health of 6, control of 2. They've got the Word Flame Blast, 16-inch range, which is pretty good. 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend D3, anti-infantry, +1 rend, Word Flame. And then they've got their Flaming Maws and Blue Horror Jabs, 6 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend 1 damage. And then the Screaming Lambing Bites, which is 6 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend 1 damage, anti-monster +1 rend companion. Pretty cool. And in your movement phase, Wake of Fire. Pick an enemy unit that this unit passed across this phase to be the target. Roll the dice. On a 3+, the target has the burning keyword. It's pretty decent. Again, it's a good way of pumping out those fires, but you know, and they're pretty fast as well at movement 12. The classic Screamers of Tzeentch. Do love these things. They're kind of cool. So the Screamers of Tzeentch are, I believe, they are beasts. All right, so they're 100 points for 3, so nice and cheap. They have a ward of 6 up because they're demons. They've got 5-up save. They move 14, which is really fast. Health of 3, control of 1. They kind of fill the same role as bats for the Soulblight Gravelords. They've got their bites, 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage, anti-monster, 1 rend, companion. So in your movement phase, you can pick an enemy unit that this passed across, roll a dice for each model in the unit that passed it across, and then roll a 4+ and inflict 1 mortal damage. Kind of cool. And then they've got a control score of 1 because they are a beast. Yeah, they're pretty cheap, so you're probably maybe going to have maybe 1 or 2 units in. They're really kind of good for like screening out objectives, stuff like that. And they're just generally annoying, and they're cheap as well, so, you know, kind of handy. Next up, we have the Exalted Flamers of Tzeentch. These are an infantry unit, and they are 130 points for 1 model. They're kind of cool. They're like a weird mix of mouths and hands and flames. They do fly, which is kind of nice. So they've got a 5 up save. They move 9, which is fast. They've got 1 health, 1 control. Now, there's only 1 model in this unit, so it can't be reinforced. They've got the Word Flame Blast, which is a range of 16, 4 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend, D3 damage, anti-infantry +1 rend, and Word Flame. Now, and it's got this Flaming Maws, 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Then they've got the passive, so you can add 1 to the wound rolls for this unit shooting attacks that target a burning enemy unit. And then Transfiguring Beacon, pick another friendly Exalted Flame of Tzeentch or Flamers of Tzeentch unit within this unit's combat range to be the target. Roll a dice. On a 3+, the target range weapons have a crit 2 hits for the rest of the ability. Now that's pretty cool, because obviously a unit of Flamers of Tzeentch are 3 models for 120 points. We're going to look at them shortly. So this is kind of a unit that's going to be able to buff them. So you pick a unit of them within the combat range, so within 3 inches. So you kind of have the 2 of them walking around together. Roll the dice. On a 3+, the target range weapons have crit 2 hits, which is pretty decent. So you're not a hero, but you're like a sort of elite version that's going to buff your lesser version. And it's a good way of getting that. Again, it's a nice ranged ability. 16-inch range is not bad. And yeah, you're going to be able to pump out a lot of stuff. And they're not bad. And to get these as well, I think this comes from the Chariot, the Chariot model. If you don't have the Exalted Flamer on a Chariot, and you build it with the Pink Horror Herald on it, you basically get one of these on a base, which is kind of cool. Okay, so the Flamers of Tzeentch, again, just went through the points. 120 points for 3 of these. They've got a champion, they fly, they've got a 6 up ward save, they've got a 5 up save, movement 9, health of 2, control of 1, warping flames, 12-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend D3 damage, anti-infantry and word flame, and then flaming maws, again, 3 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend 1 damage, and then add 1 to the wound rolls for this unit's attacks that burning enemy units, but you can get crit 2s on these, obviously, if you've got the Exalted. Not bad, yeah, pretty cool. The Curseling, the Eye of Tzeentch, the model that gives me hope that one day we will see Mortal Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch in this list. This guy is pretty cool. He is 170 points. I think he's a really cool character. His story is really awesome. The fact that the twins have melded into one body. He has a 3 up save because he's basically a Chaos Warrior. He has movement of 5, a health of 6, control of 2, Herald of Arcane Energy, 18-inch range attack, D6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, word flame, 100% you're going to bring in that just for that attack. Then he has his Staff of Tzeentch and the Balefire Sword, so 5 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1 rend, 2 damage, not too shabby in combat. And then each time this unit unbinds a spell, roll a dice on a 4+, subtract 1 from the power level of the enemy wizard that used the spell to a minimum of 0 until the start of your next turn. That's pretty cool. And then in your hero phase, make a cast roll 2d6. Until the start of your next turn, add 1 to the rend and damage characteristics of this unit's Staff of Tzeentch and Blazing Weapon. It gives himself +1 rend on a casting roll of 5. That's really good. So rend 2, damage 2. I like that. I like this guy. Now just give me a Mortal Tzeentch Chaos Warrior unit in the Disciples of Tzeentch army, and I will 100% start them. So we got the Zangor Fireflies. So these are your ranged units that are going to be flying around. They're cavalry, basically. So basically, if you want to be playing Beastmen in Age of Sigmar, this is your Beastmen army now. 4 up save, movement of 14, pretty decent. Health of 4, control of 1, arrow of fate, 18-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. And then melee weapons, bow staff, vicious beaks, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. And then the discs have got the standard attacks. So passive, ignore any negative modifiers to hit rolls and wound rolls for this unit's shooting attacks. Brilliant. And then your shooting phase, pick an enemy unit that has had any damage points allocated to it this phase, and then add 1 to the hit rolls for friendly Warflock units that attack it for the rest of the turn. Now these guys are cavalry, and they're coming in at 170 points for 3, so pretty good. So a nice unit of 6 of these flying around are going to be able to do some work. Yeah, pretty decent. So next up we have the Zazangors, and they are infantry, and they are coming in at 150 points for 10. So they obviously, each model is armed with savage blades and vicious beaks. So 2 out of 5 models can have replace theirs with a savage great blade, quite kind of nice, and the champion cannot replace their weapons. So they've got a 5-up save, the movement of 6, health 2, control of 1. They've got their vicious beaks, which is 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend 1 damage, and then the great blades are for every. So you're going to have in a unit of 10 of these, you're going to have 4 great blades. So it'll be 4s, 3s, -1 rend 2 damage. And then while this unit is wholly within enemy territory, its weapons have crit 2 hits. That is so good. And then you've got the buffs from the shamans and the buffs from the Skyfires. So yeah, Zangors are pretty decent. Like I said, if you want a Beastman army, this is where it's at now. Okay, but you can get them on Discs of Tzeentch. And coming on Discs of Tzeentch turns them into a cavalry unit. And they are 170 points for 3. So they've got a 4-up save, their movement 14, their health of 4. Nice cavalry unit with a 4-up, a health of 4, and a control of 1. They've got spears and the beaks, so 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend 2 damage. And then they've got their mounts, their discs have their standard attacks. So their main ability is this passive ability. So this unit's the Tzeentchian Spears Blades has +1 damage on the charge. That's cool. And they always have that. Like, that's a passive ability. If you are on the underdog, or if it was determined at the start of the battle round that you would take the second turn, so they only get this if you're the underdog, and if you go second, your enlighteners get better. All right, so yeah, something for your opponent to think about. These things used to be really, really scary. Not as scary now, but they're still pretty decent. Okay, now your Carrick Acolytes. These guys are your infantry units. They're 110 points for 10 models. So 3 out of 10 models can replace their curved blades with a curved glaive, which is like the big hitting guys. One guy can take a vulture weapon. 1 out of 10 can take a scroll of the dark arts, and then your champion cannot be accompanied by a vulture or carry a dark arts. All right, so you can't give your champion any of this stuff. So the Sorcerer's Bolt is 18-inch range, 1 attack, nice. Hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 rend 1 damage. So that in the shooting phase, if this unit includes any models carrying a Scryer of the Dark Arts, roll the dice and add 1 to the roll for each friendly Acolytes unit wholly within this unit's combat range. On the 5+, add 1 to the rend characteristics of this unit's Sorcerous Bolts and the rest of the turn. So they all get this. So it's 10 attacks. So each model is armed with Curse Blades and Sorcerous Bolts. So, and then one of them gets to carry the scroll. So roll a dice and add 1 to the roll for each friendly Arcanites unit within this unit's combat range, so within 3 inches. And on a 5+, add 1 to the rend characteristics. So if you've got at least 2 units together, you're going to be able to get, potentially, +1 rend on a 5+, maybe 4+. And then you're going to be pumping out 10 dice, hitting on 4s, wound on 3s for your flamed. It's kind of like a shooting attack, but you're probably going to use pink horrors for that. I believe this is slightly bigger though. And then the Vulcar is while this unit includes any models accompanied with the Vulcarks, subtract 1 from casting rolls for enemy wizards within 12 inches. That's just pretty decent. Yeah, for a mortal unit, they're not bad, but we really need Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch in this army. Okay, so we got the Jade Obelisks, which is like the Warp Cry like warband that kind of survived the cull and got put in this army. So it's 110 points for 10 models. So each of this unit is armed with the Mason's tools. It's kind of cool. And then 4 out of 10 replace their Mason's tool with the bows and daggers. One model is is an Idolock and is armed with a beak instead of other weapons, which is like that weird bird thing there. And then the champion basically doesn't replace any of its stuff. So the 4 bows are going to be range 18, 1 attack each, 4s and 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage. And then the Mason's tools are 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage, anti-faction terrain, obviously because they're Masons. And then the daggers are 1 attack, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 daggers. And the Stonebeak is 1 attack, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, D3. Damage, companion, right? What do they do? So, ignore all modifiers to saving rolls for this unit's positive or negative. That's not bad. And then cast down the idol. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of this unit's melee weapons that target faction terrain. Yeah, they're pretty cheap. And they are basically like a Warcry warband, so they're not too bad. But ignoring all modifiers to saves for this unit is kind of cool because they kind of got an inbuilt ethereal unit. And they've got a 4-up save as well, which is pretty solid. Okay, that's the Disciples of Tzeentch. Not amazing, not outstanding. There are some really cool things in there. Obviously, Zangors are pretty cool. The Changer of the Ways are pretty cool. Kairos is awesome. The Curseling is great. Some of the Demons elements is quite nice. But yeah, they're not, I wouldn't say Tzeentch is as powerful as it once was. There is definitely some fun element in there. There's a lot of movement and a lot of movement shenanigans in the army. But yeah, I still think there's an element of the army that is lacking, which is the sort of elite mortal element. The Chaos Warrior elite is definitely missing from this army. And it would be nice to see them get like a mounted unit and a unit on foot, because I think that's needed. Nurgle have it, Khorne have it. I believe Tzeentch or Slaanesh have it, but they maybe not have the mounted element yet. And Tzeentch doesn't. And it definitely needs to be done. Hopefully Games Workshop rectify that this edition. So that's them. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. Check out my other videos and the other videos in the series, as well as the hotness list. And yeah, like, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And check out my members and Patreon areas. And I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.